Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I want us to take a look at some CSS properties, and I will try to break them down into small little fractions. Okay, so I'm sure this video is going to be very short, but I will try to make it as detailed as possible so we can actually understand what CSS is, because CSS can get very tricky at some time. Okay, so we're going to be looking at some text styling, right? But more specifically, we're going to be focused on let me see if I can highlight this. Is there a highlighter? We'll try to focus on the font weight for this video. Okay, so in this video we're just focusing on the font weight and look at what is font weight, how do we use the property for our fonts, and etc. So let's go on. So we have the text properties. Okay, so these are the text properties that are used for CSS. So we have the styling, we have the spacing, we have the family, we have the color, and we have the different sizes. So we are going to look at these as we progress forward. So this will be a playlist or a series just based on CSS, trying to understand what and how to use CSS. Okay, so let's move on. So we have a font weight. Okay, so what is a font weight? So a font weight is a set, it sets the thickness of the text. Okay, so it's the bold. Okay, it's the boldness of the text. So that's what font weight is. So as you can see, we have the font weight bold. So this is what you're going to essentially put in your CSS file. Okay, so this is the property. Font weight is the property and bold is the value. But we do have some other values besides bold. Okay, so bold just makes it thick. Okay, it just makes it much more bolder. Okay, so the other values are here. So we have values ranging from 100 all the way to 900. But the default value for a normal text is 400. So 400 is a default value for a normal text, given it's a paragraph or just any text. Okay, it's 400. And then from the medium, from 500 going upwards, is where you are going to have the default values for the headings. Okay, and moving forward, we also have some tips and guides, okay, that you should know about the font weight property. So it's important to use the values from 500 to 900 if you are using it for headings. So if you are making a heading, given it's an H1 up to H6, since it's a heading, you should use 500, which is the lowest, and 900, which is the biggest. Okay, and then if it's other text, like it's your paragraph, etc., then you should stick to 300 to 400. Don't go to 500, because 500 is best for the heading values. Okay, so let's jump straight to VS Code and see what it is that I'm actually talking about. So now we are inside VS Code, and I want us to start off with having a basic HTML template. So the shortcut to do that is you can just hit Shift and the exclamation mark, okay, which is your one on the keyboard if you are using Windows. Okay, and then you'll see this and just hit enter, and you will have the default boilerplate for the HTML. So what we need to do is we need to link our CSS. So I already have my CSS. It's in the same folder with my HTML document. So what we do is we're going to link it. So just hit link and CSS, and you'll see it will just give you the proper link to the style sheet. But it's important that you check your href to see that it is the correct file name, because sometimes you can misspell your CSS and call it styles instead of style. Okay, so just to make sure that it's the correct name, and then from here on we can actually start playing around with the different values. So we can have an h1. Let's have an h1 here, and we can use text dummies. So let me create some text dummies. Okay, so let's put this into our h1, and let's have a paragraph. Put this into paragraph. Okay, I think this is fine. Okay, so this is just for show. Okay, so you can see we have a h1 and we have a paragraph. Okay, so let's play around with the font. Okay, so here we now inside our style.css. Okay, so I want to show you guys what happens if we can swap the h1 and the paragraph values. Okay, so the default value, it's best practice if you are styling a heading to start from 500 to 900, but if it's a heading, it's best to start from 300 going down. So let's see what happens if we can take an h1 and we put a font size, a font weight of the lower value 200. Okay, so you saw here that the weight is no longer thick. Okay, so let's see what happens if we take a paragraph property and we put the font weight of a heading, let's say 600 for an example. You see the two difference. So there's a big difference between the two, which is why it's best practice if it's a heading, then you can use higher values, but if it's a paragraph or other text, you can use lower values like this. So that's the difference between the headings and the text. And in short, that's how you should use the font weight property in CSS.